Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and today we have a super exciting topic to talk about. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia. How are you doing, Julia?
Hey, Jason. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. It's all about one of the biggest goals for English learners, fluency.
Exactly. So, today, we're going to dive deep into the only way to become fluent in English. You might be wondering, what's the secret to fluency? Is there some shortcut? Well, we're here to share some insights that could help you on your English learning journey, whether you're just starting out or you've been practicing for a while.
Right. We're going to talk about the most important steps to fluency, how immersion plays a huge role, why consistency is key, and why speaking practice is absolutely essential. But we're not just going to talk about theory. We'll also share some practical tips that you can start using today to improve your fluency.
Yeah, and we know that becoming fluent in English isn't always easy. It takes time, effort, and a bit of patience. But trust us, if you stick with it, you'll see amazing results. So, let's get started and break it down for you.
Absolutely. So let's kick things off by talking about why fluency in English really matters in the first place.
All right, so before we dive into how to become fluent, let's take a moment to talk about why fluency in English is so important. You know, English is the global language of communication, and being fluent opens up so many doors, not just for travel, but for career opportunities and personal connections.
Exactly, Jason. I remember when I first started learning English, I focused a lot on grammar and vocabulary, but then I realized fluency is about much more than just knowing the rules. It's about being able to express yourself clearly and confidently, whether you're at work, hanging out with friends, or traveling abroad.
That's such a great point, Julia. Being fluent in English means you can communicate effortlessly with people from all over the world. Think about it. You're not just limiting yourself to English-speaking countries. If you want to work for an international company, or if you travel to places where English is widely spoken, fluency gives you an advantage in those situations.
Right. Fluency isn't just about impressing others with your English. It's about real-world situations where you need to be able to understand, respond, and participate in conversations. For example, when you're at the airport, in a restaurant, or even watching a movie, fluency helps you feel more confident and less stressed about misunderstandings.
And let's not forget about confidence. When you're fluent, you feel empowered to speak up, share your thoughts, and connect with others without hesitation. And that confidence can even spill over into other areas of your life, like making new friends, advancing in your career, or even just feeling more at ease in social situations.
I couldn't agree more. When I became more fluent in English, it changed the way I saw myself. I started feeling more confident in my abilities, and I could participate more in conversations, not just with other English speakers, but with people from all over the world who speak different languages. That's something truly powerful.
Such an inspiring story, Julia. And that's exactly why fluency matters. It's not just about mastering words or grammar. It's about feeling confident, empowered, and ready to tackle any situation in English. Now, let's dive into one of the most effective ways to become fluent: immersion. This is a method that has helped so many learners, and we'll share some tips on how you can start using it to your advantage. Ready, Julia? All right, so now that we've talked about why fluency matters, let's dive into one of the most powerful ways to achieve it: immersion. Immersion is all about surrounding yourself with English as much as possible, so you start thinking in English and naturally pick up the language in context.
Yes, Jason. Immersion doesn't mean just reading textbooks or learning rules. It's about living and breathing the language. For example, when you're watching movies or TV shows in English, you're exposed to real-life conversations, slang, and culture, which helps you understand the language in a more natural way.
Exactly. And when you're constantly surrounded by the language, it becomes easier to understand the flow of conversation. You start picking up phrases, expressions, and vocabulary that you might not learn in a classroom. It's like you're absorbing the language from every situation, and that makes you more confident in using it.
I can tell you from personal experience, immersion was a game changer for me. When I started watching English movies and listening to English podcasts, it helped me get used to the natural speed of conversation. At first, I struggled to catch everything, but over time, my listening skills improved, and I began understanding more and more without even thinking about it.
So, for our listeners out there, how can they start immersing themselves in English, even if they're not living in an English-speaking country? Well, there are a lot of ways you can begin. One of the easiest ways is to switch your phone, social media, or even your apps to English. You'll be surprised how much you learn just by navigating through English language content every day.
Absolutely. Another great tip is to listen to English music or podcasts while doing daily activities like cooking, cleaning, or commuting. The more you hear the language, the more familiar it becomes. You can also try watching your favorite TV shows or YouTube videos with English subtitles, which is an excellent way to connect the spoken word with its written form.
Another powerful way to immerse yourself is by speaking with others. This can be with a language partner, a tutor, or even just chatting with friends who speak English. It's important to practice speaking as much as possible, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. Remember, every conversation is a step toward fluency.
Yeah, speaking is definitely the most challenging part for a lot of learners, but the key is to push past the fear of making mistakes. When I first started speaking with native speakers, I was nervous. But the more I practiced, the more comfortable I became, and I realized that everyone makes mistakes and that's okay. It's part of the learning process.
Exactly. Immersion isn't about being perfect. It's about consistently exposing yourself to the language and letting it become a natural part of your life. And over time, you'll notice how your understanding and fluency improve without even trying so hard.
And you know what's so rewarding about immersion? It's not just about learning new words or grammar. It's about feeling more connected to the language and even to the culture behind it. When you immerse yourself in English, it starts to feel like you really belong to the world of English speakers. It's a powerful experience.
Exactly. Immersion makes learning more organic and enjoyable. It's like stepping into the language and living it instead of just studying it. If you can immerse yourself in English every day, even in small ways, you'll be well on your way to becoming fluent. So, let's take this a step further and talk about another important factor in becoming fluent: consistency. It's not enough to practice once in a while. You need to make learning English a part of your daily routine. All right, now that we've talked about immersion, let's dive into another key element of becoming fluent: consistency. We've all heard the saying, practice makes perfect. But when it comes to learning English, I think it's more about practice makes progress.
That's so true, Jason. The thing is, English learners often get caught up in trying to be perfect right away. They want to speak perfectly without any mistakes. But here's the truth. Perfection isn't necessary to make progress. In fact, focusing on perfection can sometimes hold you back.
Exactly. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be consistent. Think about it. If you practice English every day, even for just 15 or 20 minutes, Over time, you'll notice huge improvements. It's like building a muscle. The more you work on it, the stronger it gets.
I remember when I first started learning English, I was really focused on getting everything right, from grammar to pronunciation. But after a while, I realized that the more consistent I was with my practice, the better I became, even though I didn't always get everything perfect.
That's such a great point, Julia. I think a lot of learners feel frustrated when they can't get things perfect right away. But the key is to embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. In fact, the more mistakes you make, the more opportunities you have to learn and improve.
Absolutely. When you practice regularly, you start to notice things getting easier. For example, when you listen to English every day, you'll start picking up new words without even trying. And when you speak consistently, you'll find yourself becoming more confident and comfortable over time.
Small daily actions are the key. It's not about sitting down for hours at a time and studying non-stop. It's about making English a part of your daily routine. Whether it's reading for 10 minutes, listening to a podcast while driving, or having a short conversation with someone in English, it all adds up.
Exactly. I recommend setting aside specific times each day to practice. Maybe it's in the morning, during lunch breaks, or before bed. Consistency becomes easier when it's part of your daily habits. And don't be too hard on yourself if you miss a day, just pick it up the next day.
Right. And consistency doesn't mean being perfect every single day. It's about showing up for your learning, even on days when you don't feel like it. Over time, you'll see that regular practice leads to big improvements, and you'll reach fluency faster than if you only practiced sporadically.
At the end of the day, consistency is the secret sauce. It's not about waiting until you're perfect to start practicing. It's about starting where you are and making it a part of your everyday life. You'll be amazed at how much you improve just by committing to consistent practice.
Well said, Julia. So, we've talked about the power of immersion and consistency. Now, let's discuss the third important factor, the importance of speaking practice. After all, what good is fluency if you can't actually speak the language, right? All right, we've covered immersion and consistency. And now it's time to talk about one of the most important aspects of becoming fluent in English, speaking practice. Because no matter how much you listen or read, if you don't practice speaking, you'll never be able to speak English fluently.
That's so true, Jason. Speaking is the skill that brings everything together. It's not just about knowing vocabulary or grammar rules. It's about being able to express your thoughts and ideas in real time. When you practice speaking, you're building the confidence and fluency you need to communicate effectively.
But I know for a lot of learners, speaking is the most intimidating part. A lot of us are afraid of making mistakes, and that fear can hold us back from speaking at all. But here's the thing. The more you speak, the more mistakes you'll make, and that's a good thing. Each mistake is an opportunity to improve.
Absolutely. I used to be terrified of speaking. I remember being in conversations where I was too afraid to say anything because I didn't want to sound silly. But eventually I realized that people actually appreciate the effort you put into speaking their language, and they're usually very supportive.
That's right. One of the best ways to overcome the fear is to make speaking practice a regular part of your routine. Find someone to talk to, whether it's a language partner, a friend, or even just talking to yourself in English. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel.
Exactly. And here are a few tips to make your speaking practice more effective. First, try shadowing. That's when you repeat what a speaker says, mimicking their pronunciation and intonation. It helps you sound more natural and familiar with the flow of conversation.
Another tip is to have regular conversations with native speakers or other learners. Platforms like language exchange apps can be really helpful for this. If you don't have a conversation partner, you can even practice by talking to yourself about your day or describing things around you in English. It all counts.
And don't forget the value of feedback. It's so helpful to have someone point out areas where you can improve, whether it's grammar, pronunciation, or vocabulary usage. Feedback helps you focus on areas you might not notice on your own.
Exactly. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll become. And before you know it, you'll be having full conversations in English without even thinking about it. And that's when fluency starts to feel natural.
Right. Don't wait until you're perfect to start speaking. The key is to speak often and consistently. Each conversation, each sentence you speak will bring you closer to fluency.
So, to sum up, speaking is absolutely essential in becoming fluent in English. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become, and the closer you'll get to speaking naturally and effortlessly. Now, let's move on to our final section, where we'll wrap everything up and give you a few last tips to keep you motivated on your journey to fluency. All right, we've talked a lot about speaking, but to become truly fluent in English, listening and reading play an equally important role. These skills help you understand the language better, pick up new vocabulary, and get a feel for how English is used in real-life situations.
Listening is essential because it helps you get used to the natural flow of English. When you listen to podcasts, movies, or conversations, you learn about intonation, pronunciation, and expressions that native speakers use. It's like training your brain to understand the rhythm and sounds of the language.
Exactly. The more you listen to English, the easier it becomes to speak. You start to naturally pick up phrases, slang, and even the way words are connected. This helps you speak more fluidly and sound more like a native speaker.
Reading is just as important. When you read in English, you expose yourself to a wider range of vocabulary and sentence structures. It's like building your language toolkit. The more you read, the more you'll understand how English works, which makes it easier to use those words and phrases when speaking.
And the great thing is that listening and reading are easy to incorporate into your daily life. Whether you're listening to a podcast during your commute or reading a book or article online, you're constantly exposing yourself to new language. It all contributes to your overall fluency.
So remember, fluency isn't just about speaking, it's about understanding the language in all its forms. Make listening and reading a part of your daily practice, and you'll see how much it helps your speaking ability and overall fluency.
Great insights, Julia. So now that we've covered all the essential aspects of becoming fluent in English speaking, listening, reading, immersion, and consistency, let's wrap up with some final tips to keep you motivated and on track. So, let's quickly recap what we've covered today. To become fluent in English, you need to immerse yourself in the language, be consistent with your practice, and most importantly, focus on speaking. Don't forget the importance of listening and reading, which will help you understand the language better and improve your fluency.
Exactly, Jason. Remember, the road to fluency may seem long, but it's worth it. Don't worry about making mistakes, they're a natural part of the process. The key is to keep going, stay consistent, and enjoy the journey.
Yes, exactly. Fluency is a gradual process, but every step you take brings you closer to your goal. So, keep practicing every day. Stay motivated and trust the process. You're doing great.
Take action today. Start small, stay consistent, and focus on speaking as much as you can. The more you practice, the more natural English will feel. You've got this.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope these tips help you on your journey to fluency. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and remember, you're always making progress, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes. We'll see you in the next episode.
Good luck, everyone, and happy learning.